Standing up in McKinney. This is According to Callus. Perhaps I should amend that to say, still standing up in McKinney. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the 15th of March, and we are back. It is Friday, episode 602. I'd missed the last 2 days. I think I've work responsibility stuff. I've probably done well over 40 hours in the last 3 days and just didn't have enough time to put together an episode that was worthy of your time to listen to. I'm hoping that you'll feel I delivered today, and it will not be a full-length episode, probably 20 minutes worth of material off the top of my head, but it is a 5 for Friday, so I'm going to have 5 topics, give you a little details, and move on. And let me remind you, the algorithm has not been kind to me this week, and obviously missing 2 episodes did not help, but I was quite happy with what I did with episode 600 and 601. So if you would do me a solid, if you're listening to me right now, go back, download those episodes, share them, tell your friends. I think they're going to be helpful going forward. I think I wouldn't call it my best work. I don't want to go that route, but just saying it's very practical and very helpful, and it's something that's timely, having to do with coming events. So if you do me that favor, I'd appreciate it. As always, like, share, subscribe. Follow me on your social media of choice. I am at the Facebook. I have a page and a group. I'm a pro over at Gab, and I still drop in over at MeWe. So without further ado, here we go on with the show. Well, updates. Item number 1 was updates. I've kind of covered some of those, but we will continue. So as I have mentioned, I am the Platform Committee Chairman, or Platform Resolutions Committee Chairman for SD8, which is in Collin County. And if you're hearing the words of my voice, you have 2 more chances to come and testify. Come speak your piece. Tell us what you think the party can and should be doing differently or better than what we're doing right now. That is Saturday. That's right, Saturday the 16th, 9 to 3 p.m. at the GOP headquarters. And then on Monday, we'll be there from 6 until 9 p.m., same location. Come and join us. We want to hear from you. We have our work to do, but we do have time set aside specifically to hear from people that maybe didn't get to the precinct convention, that maybe have extra information that would be useful and or helpful to us. We have set aside a time to hear from you, our public, our good Republican voters. All right, item number 2. This correlates directly to the idea that we have conventions coming. On the 23rd, which is basically a week from tomorrow, the Senate District Convention is going to be convening. There are 3 Senate districts that are going to convene. They're all going to be at the Collin College location in Plano. SD8 is by far the largest delegation, but SD30 and SD2 will be present as well. We will probably start with an opening ceremony of sorts with everybody in the same room, and then we're going to break out and get our business done. That is your last opportunity to get approval to go to the state convention, which is in May, and I'll spend more time talking about that later, but just know that you don't have really much chance after that to sign up to go to the state convention, which is in San Antonio, which I got to tell you, if I'm going to pick a city that's, not home, San Antonio is the nicest place to go, in my opinion. That being said, I could be wrong in your eyes, and that's fair. We can agree to disagree, but that's the nicest place I've been for a convention. Again, the 23rd, we're going to be kicking off probably about 9 o'clock. I think the convention itself proper starts at 10, but you'll want to be there by 9 to get signed in and get all your things sorted out. All right, I guess that was item number 2. So item number 3, a bit of a lament, if you will. The party must go on. Now, I don't claim to be innocent. I don't claim to be above it all, although I will say that I have spent well over 10 years doing things within the Republican Party, most of the time as a precinct chair. Sometimes I wasn't a precinct chair, but I was working on things at behest. So, well over 10 years, I've been involved in Collin County Republican Party, and I'm really at a loss as to how we are where we're at right now and why we're there. But the party must go on. And sometimes when you have a massive infection, you have to sacrifice a body part in order to save the rest of the body. And I really hope we don't get to that point. I really hope that we can fix it and treat the infection, if you will. And this, yes, is all a metaphor, folks. And that we can address our issues and we can move on and remind ourselves that we have far more in common and we're far more alike than the people that we oppose, which is supposed to be the Democrats, supposed to be the socialists, the leftists, the progressives. We're still in this purity spiral. We're still dealing with a group of people, and I would say I conservatively put that number at about 6, maybe as many as 12, that sincerely believe that they are the most pure or know the best, and they should be in charge of everything. And that's my opinion of the matter, and they may tell you otherwise, and that's fine, but that's how they come across. That's how they're perceived by a lot of us. And look, I'm no slouch. I have a personality, I have a presence, and I freely speak my mind at all times, and I defend what I think is worth defending. So to a certain amount of respect, I will defend what their actions are based on, and I will also respect to a point what they're trying to accomplish. This then gets into the idea that we have rules for a reason. We try and follow sorts. We try and respect decorum. We try and work together to get things done. And these same individuals show up time and time again, I think largely at the behest of another individual, who I'll leave nameless at the moment, although if you are familiar at all with what I'm speaking of, you can probably figure it out. And we play these games because they want their things. They want to do things that they think are going to make a difference. And I would just say the record proves otherwise. The record proves when given a little responsibility and a little authority, the outcome was not good. It was not improved. Perhaps giving more authority and more money is not going to do any better. That's my biggest concern. And the fact that they're not even willing to consider that is problematic. Well, nevertheless, that was item number 3. The party must go on. We will find a way forward. We'll find a way to fix it. And we will prevail. Yes, and I said those words on purpose. The idea that I struggle with is I'm not willing to sacrifice myself for a party, for something short of my Savior. I'm not willing to do that. My family, yes. But, I mean, in many ways, it'd just be simpler and easier to say, you know what? It's not worth it. Let the barbarians have it. And that is in a direct quote of the Coors family. When they lost control of Coors Brewery, their answer was, well, we'll just let the barbarians have it. Now, I'm not necessarily comfortable calling all the people that I'm working against, if you will, barbarians, but it is it's at a certain point you have to decide whether or not this is still worth defending. Is there something left to salvage? The point being, the party must go on. We have to find a way forward. We have to find some balance. I don't know what it is. I don't know how we're going to get there, but if we're not going to at least engage with each other, if we're not going to talk to each other, if we're not going to be willing to accept that the variances of the difference among us are so much smaller than what we're fighting, the leftist, progressive, communist, socialists, right? Then I don't know how we do that. And we do have people that have joined us fraudulently, people that have bad intent, people that seek to undermine and work against us from the inside. And those people do need to be dealt with on an individual basis, but they are also in the process of outing themselves. And there's just a couple. Well, really just one that I would name, but I'm not going to. He knows who he is, and so does pretty much everybody else that's involved in the executive committee. So yeah, I'm putting this out there for your for your notification. They're wise to you, and they're going to deal with it. All right, so item number 4, life goes on, right? So The party is not my life, and my life is not the party. Though at times I think my family thinks otherwise. If you don't have other things, if you don't have other interests, if you don't have other things you're involved with, it can be distracting. It can be difficult. My hobby is politics. My side gig is this podcast, which, by the way, just so we're clear, I still don't make any money off of. And again, I didn't necessarily go in with the only objective of making money. I wanted to build a platform. I wanted to get an alternate voice out. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to let people know they're not alone, that right here in Collin County, McKinney, Texas, we have situations that need to be addressed. We have things that we can work on, and I'm willing to facilitate and or come alongside any of these people. So on the idea of life going on, I had a couple of good conversations yesterday where we talked about some different ways that we can engage with groups of people that, really don't identify as being conservative, or they see the Republican Party as a hostile entity. Well, that's not good. So we're formulating, right, discussing a way to approach that. I'm not sure exactly what that's going to look like. We did kick around some ideas. I have a couple of good ideas. I threw my hat in the ring. I'm happy to help. I will do what the other folks think is best fit, because it's, as I say, it's kind of their circus and I'm just wanting to be their monkey. Also, secondarily, one of those same individuals, we were chatting about the idea that I defended a project. And I don't want to say defended. I cheered a project. I'm excited about a project that we're doing in my hometown. Now, I know there's a lot of folks that have their own reasons for not being excited about it. And my answer has always been, look, things are going to grow. Things are going to mature. We want that, and we want to maybe steer that, but we also have to accept that it's part of life. It's part of the process. And if we get good things out of it, if there's positive outcomes for the city, all the more so we should be excited about it. So this individual kind of was joking with me about, throwing in league now with the mayor. and to be fair, I've always looked at everything in my city as I'm not so much worried about who's doing it or who gets the credit for it. It's whether or not it's good for the city, or it's whether or not I think it's good for the city. Now, there are a number of projects or things that have been done that there is a lot of skin in the game for the city and possibly not any payoff, not any way to break even or benefit, even if it is a nice item. Now, the developers or the people that get involved, they all get their cut and they get a hefty cut, but the city doesn't, right? The city's really not benefiting. And this, again, this is my opinion. And obviously, the people that are involved in making these decisions probably have more information than I do. I'll grant that right off the bat. But if you're not willing to articulate that, if you're not willing to sell that and market it in such a way that it's convincing, why would you be surprised when people are like, yeah, I'm not sure that's a good idea. I'm not sure that I'm in support of that. That should be marketing 101, right? You got to go tell your story. You got to convince people that this is what's really going on and this is the positive outcome. And then, of course, you're going to sell it in that I'm transferring my belief that this is a great project for the city to you, who's maybe ambivalent or maybe even necessarily against it, that, hey, let me tell you, this is what I see. This is what I think we're going to get out of it. Now, look, there are legitimate detractors, people that say, or have legitimate concerns, I guess I'll put it that way. And those need to be addressed. Those are items that can't be ignored. And we do that at our own peril for anything within our city, because there's always pluses and minuses on every project. My opinion is this specific project, there will be more pluses than the minuses. And I'm not willing to say, well, I oppose a project because this person or this entity supports it or is pushing it or maybe gets credit for it. I don't really care about that. I've never cared about that. I do get annoyed sometimes when it's clearly benefiting a specific company or clearly benefiting a specific investor. then we're picking and choosing winners and losers. I don't think the city or any government should do that, but I'm also not naive enough to believe that that never happens. Again, long term, is this what I think or what the general public thinks is what's best for the city, for the community, for the county? And for me, this is an easy sell. This is an easy, yeah, absolutely. This is something to differentiate what we have in McKinney versus what's in Frisco or what's in Allen. And Frisco and Allen have done a really good job on different things over the years, and we've kind of struggled. We haven't really had a definite idea of what it is McKinney is. Now, I know there's a certain percentage of McKinney that likes the bedroom community. I do too. When I moved here, we were legitimately 50,000 some people, and it was quiet and peaceful. The times changed. It's been 20 plus years, 27 for me. That period of time is gone. We have to embrace where we're at and decide, do we want to kind of steer this into an outcome that we think is great, or do we want to just settle for what's put in front of us? And if you're not involved, if you're not giving your input, you're going to have no say in what's going on. So again, the idea that life goes on, right? So we've got different things in your private life, different things in the public life around you. And you always need to be exploring and looking at what's next on the horizon. Because even a guy like me most people would say is uber political, and I don't reject that. I think I'm a little more balanced, but I only have so much time, so much interest that I'm willing to put in that. I have other life aspirations, other things that go on, and I need to remind myself of that, and I need to be involved in that. And if I'm always looking at everything that goes on around me strictly through a political lens, I can't really enjoy life. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't also consider the political ramifications of certain things and events that are going on around you. It just means that shouldn't be the driving force in everything you do, because life goes on. All right. Really and truly, that was item number 4. We're gonna hit item number 5 real quick here. Let's just wrap this up. I'm labeled as priorities, and by that I mean, for a long time, my priorities have been politically orientated. I'm not willing to walk away from that. I'm not saying that doesn't matter. I'm not saying that there isn't positive outcome, that there isn't efforts that have paid off. But what I am saying is, do I really need to invest that much time in it? Perhaps if I were to bring in other people, perhaps if there were somebody to take on that mantle, I wouldn't feel like I'm obligated to do all the things that I do. Well, that's true and false, right? But again, that's my priority. This is, what are your priorities? What do you value? What is it that you're involved in? And I think that a lot of people ignore the political because they don't want the strife. They don't want the disagreement. They don't want the challenge. They legitimately just want to focus on their family or their own self and kind of enjoy life. And that's great. And you should be able to do that. The problem is, government won't let you do that. One of the old taglines I used a lot, and I'm going to use a variation because I didn't look it up to make sure I got it right. You may not care about government, but government does care about you. They don't want you to be able to do what you want to do without their influence, without their insight on what it is you're doing. They want to be able to control, and when I say they, I mean government, and it's non-specific because I'm not saying anybody's purely innocent that's in government, by the way. They want to have control or say over every bit of your life that they possibly can. And I'm not good with that. And if there aren't people like me to stand up, say no, and push back and fight this direction we've taken in our country, in our state, in our county, in our city, of just accepting government interference in everything that we do, we're going to be in a police state. I mean, routinely I see things about you. We Are Here, and it's got all these dystopian books and novels and, well, books, novels, same thing, movies, and they say, you are here. And I've seen this for 30 years, and I'm glad that these people are coming along on board, most of them after COVID. Yeah, but what are you doing about it? You can complain about it. You can point it out, but if you're not doing anything, who cares? I'm glad that you made that witty observation that we are here, but what are you going to do about it? Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody needs to upend their priorities, but let me ask you, can you invest 10 minutes a day or an hour a week to look into what's going on around you, whether it's the city, whether it's the county, whether it's the state, whether it's the federal government, and just learn what's happening on? And I'm not going to suggest that the way to do that is to read the news. I'm not going to suggest the way to do that is put on, MSNBC, Fox, CNN, whatever the flavor of the day is, or Newsmax. I don't think you're going to really get that. Go back and read some older books. Go back and look into, The Conservative Mind, for starters, comes to mind. And I haven't read it yet, but I've got it in the queue, right? Go back and reflect back on what these people saw 70 years ago, what they predicted, and think about what is it that they were warning about then that we're seeing now. So when these people are referencing the novels of dystopia, you should be able to see these hallmarks of what's going on. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get a one-for-one direct representation, but you're looking for things that are very, very similar. Something that is eerily similar, and concerning. That's what should key you in. That's what should concern you. That's why you should be involved. And if you can only give an hour of your time a week to defend liberty, to protect your community, to just be involved with what's going on around you, think about how much better our society, our community, our city, our county, our state would be. And with that, I hit 21 minutes already. Kudos to me. This has been According to Callus. I apologize for missing you all on Wednesday and Thursday, but as they say, life goes on, and I will be back next week. Until then, I will see you on the other side.